Gonzalez, just want to mention that Chairman Fazio and I have led a letter that has gone to Amtrak, CEO Richard Anderson, asking a number of questions about the reduction in police force. It seems like something that, as we are more focused, and Congress has taken action in recent years to be more focused on safety, especially at our train stations, that seems to be going counter to that. So look forward to the questions from Amtrak, and we're going to continue to follow up with Amtrak on the cuts that they are proposing. But thank you for your service. I wanted to I wish that Administrator Brittore was still here to be part of this discussion. I wanted to focus on, obviously, safety is what is most important here. The safety of the workers, safety of communities that rail traffic flows through. We have heard about issues, obviously. I'm looking for what Congress can do. We have the two-person crew bill that we have right now. We also heard about FRA having not completed rulemaking on a number of things that they have been required by Congress to do. But I wanted to ask, what specifically, especially when it comes to PSR, we've heard stories here about what is being asked of employees, workers, for freight rail. What should Congress be doing to step in to ensure safety? We've heard concerns, I've heard these about that there's a fear of reporting anything. So I just want to go through, let me start with Mr. Pierce, and if you could be brief. I mean, what would you do? What do you want? What would you like to see Congress do to try to do a better job to ensure safety, besides what we've already talked about in your statement? Anything?
Thank you, Chairman. I think it's noteworthy that the administrator picked up the Code of Federal Regulations book and waved it at the committee. It appears that he has forgotten where those regulations came from. They came from the FRA, either of its own promulgation or under a mandate by Congress. So your question is relevant. Congress does play a role in this. We think the Safe Freight Act is a step in the right direction. If FRA will not get involved in the safe operation of long trains that affect all of our communities and the ability to safely operate that equipment, like as I said, when they exceed the technology that's in place today, FRA should take an interest, Congress should take an interest. So I think there are steps that you can take that would direct FRA as the safety regulator in our industry to actually do what its mandate is and regulate.
Mr. Prevasic?
Yes, thank you. The Safe Freight Act is very important. It's been it's been in progress for quite some time now. It stagnates. Things have worked against, people have worked against it, things have worked against it. But now we had what I believe is a watershed moment with the May 23rd directive from FRA, which not only withdrew their notice of proposed rulemaking, it also did a couple of other things that have just as much significance. To begin, we've already heard some that it's an attempt to preempt state laws where the states have stepped in and believe that they should regulate at a higher level than no regulation at all. And by not regulating, FRA has declared that that means that no regulation is either needed or permitted at the state level. Congress needs to take a look at that. In addition, another very serious communication that was buried in that May 23rd notice was the decision to not oversee artificial intelligence or autonomous operations. Every mode of transportation in the country has oversight over the development and implementation of these systems because they're so safety critical. Anyone with reasonable sense can see that trains with hazardous materials moving down the track with reduced crews with some software version of artificial intelligence similar to the Boeing 737 MAX needs oversight. It needs oversight in the development, the implementation, and ongoing modifications inherent in moving to more automation. And more automation means more task saturation for the people on the train. It's one thing to drive a train the way that all of us have driven them for a number of years. Now the systems are becoming so complex. The interaction required for positive train control, for example, did not ease the burden on the operating crew. It increased the burden on the operating crew. Congress, I would like to see step in and address simply those issues. There are other issues, and you can read them in my written submission, but those issues, as a result of the May 23rd notice to withdraw the rulemaking, all need to be addressed. And it needs to be addressed timely. Letting the Safe Freight Act sit while there was a rulemaking in place is one thing. Withdrawing the rulemaking emphasizes the importance of moving forward on these issues by Congress, because FRA has exhibited they're not going to do that. Thank you.
Mr. Bowles, anything you want to add?
I would like to say, I think from our organization, things a little different in relation to safety, but I would emphasize that the regulations in place for roadway worker and highway rail grade crossings is essential that we keep those in place. I don't know if you heard Mr. Batory talk about the safety enhancements at rail grade crossings and the bungalows that, well, that's true to a degree. It's, we're getting better equipment out there, but it should be used to enhance safety, not replace the workers that are doing the required tests and visual inspections of these crossings. It's detrimental to the traveling public, and you know, we believe that without these regulations, we're going back to a time that we don't want to be in.
Thank you. Mr. Sandberg, anything you want to add?
Yes, I'd just like to maybe just hit it again. Mr. Pretori mentioned that if, you know, PSR would be essentially safe if the law was followed, and that's what we think that Congress can do, is get the FRA to enforce the law, enforce what their regulations are. And part of the what's happening with our membership is they're working. One person is working on a ship by themselves, being required to do the work of a number of people, sometimes 3 or 4 people, and this is what's causing them to have issues at work, being forced, like I said, 12 or 16 hours a day to work, plus, you know, to do work that's not familiar to them, that they've never been trained on, but they're now required to do it because the workers that used to do it are now furloughed.
Thank you.
So,
Well, I'm way over time here, so with that, I will yield back, and I will yield.